and welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your hosts, Buddy Sotelo Esquire, Mike Leno, and Evan Ginzburg is here. But we have another special guest for tonight, all talking things WrestleMania and everything in between. Ryan Boman with, it's right, is Pinned your company now? The name of
Yes, I run a marketing firm called Pin Media and Marketing, which is specializing on the pro wrestling side of things, and I am now the editor-in-chief at realwrestling.net over in the UK.
Yes, wonderful.
Left the old place and started with them in January and loving it, loving things there, and just still going strong, excited about WrestleMania, and of course, always excited to talk to you guys.
Great. Thank you for being here tonight. So I guess the big thing that's on everybody's mind is, you know, the Super Bowl of wrestling, WrestleMania, which is coming like a freight train or maybe a pigeon with a 20-pound weight on its back. What do you guys think of the card and the preface?
Let me say something, because I'm in Los Angeles. It's not just WWE stuff. This is pretty much everybody other than Tony Khan and AEW. I'm not sure if Billy Corgan's NWA are coming in, but everybody on Earth is coming in from a company-wise thing. I mean, there's the high spots, not just WrestleCon, that's got Mercedes Moné and literally everybody there for signings Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but he's putting on a WrestleCon super show. I mean, everybody's there. Gabby Laspisa, if anybody knows her from Busted Open, long time on air for 5 years, a producer. She was let go when SiriusXM was inadvertently just letting like 465 people go from all departments, and you know, they were horrified at Busted Open, all those people at that radio show, that she was let go. But I bugged Mike Bucci, who owns High Spots and puts on WrestleCon every year, and he was kind enough to give her a vendor table. So instead of just staying at home, she's going to come out and network. Literally everybody is there. There's Multiverse, you know, the show with New Japan and Impact. GCW has several shows. Evan, you know this because you, but it's almost every hour from about Wednesday on, there's like 2 to 3 events. And back when I went, you know, I went to wrestling, WWE's Hall of Fame. And then after that was the WrestleCon Super Show. And then after that was Colt Cabana podcast show with a bunch of guests, and at 3 a.m. I went to Chikara. So that was during the day. You go to WWE's, you know, FanFest thing, the convention, where they'll have NXT matches and all the latest merch you can't see anywhere else. So it's way more than WWE. It's almost exhausting, because WWE alone has 10 press events, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not including all the other junk going on. So I don't know if Ryan or Ev, you guys have been to one of these things. You know, every year more and more companies come in. It's kind of insane to try to do everything. And then there's all the parties. The Kevin Nash party, you know, until his son died. He's not having it this year, but there's all these kind of private parties, cool events.
I've worked multiple WrestleMania weekends as an agent, bringing in Tito Santana and Paul Orndorff and Greg Valentine and guys like that. And yeah, it's pretty exhausting, and it's a good opportunity to network and make money. And but I don't know if it's quote unquote fun. By the time you stagger home after running yourself ragged for several days, you know, continually, you know, it's work. You know, if you're a wealthy fanboy that has thousands of dollars for a WrestleMania ticket, it might be a different experience. But, you know, on the business end of things, if you try, you know, we were trying to promote 350 days. We're trying to make money as agents. With, you know, just running from show to show to show, you run yourself ragged. And, you know, I'm not 23. I'm a middle-aged guy. So it's a hustle. It's a hustle.
Well, WWE tries really hard to make it their Super Bowl. And they look at what happens at the Super Bowl and they say, we want that, you know, and how the Super Bowl is, you know, a multi-day event.
Well,
you know,
fans determined they were getting burned out by having a 7-8 hour WrestleMania. I think the Jersey one, Ryan may be able to speak to that, or Evan definitely, where it went till like 1:30 in the morning or something. That's when they went to 2 days. So it was more fan demand and complaints about too long and all the filler and all of that stuff. So now, they followed, and New Japan started it with the 2-day Wrestle Kingdom. They followed that model, and it's been obviously more successful fiscally and easier on the fans and the wrestlers. Hopefully everybody gets a decent payday out of it. And then, of course, what will follow after WrestleMania are all we don't know, the cutbacks. It's always been an annual thing, but that's a topic right there. You guys very quickly think there's going to be a bunch of cutbacks? We don't know if Vince is now sharing the book with Triple H or really truly what's going on. Ryan, maybe you can speak on all of that.
Well, I was going back to the multi-events thing. I noticed that a few years ago around like the New Orleans, I think maybe 2017, 2018, I don't remember the exact year, but where these kind of satellite shows around the big show. But that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, why wouldn't you? It is basically the Mardi Gras, the Super Bowl, all of that for pro wrestling rolled up into one. I mean, it makes no sense for WWE to be the only one who gets the whole pie. You already have a lot of tourists, a lot of people there. It's Lollapalooza, it's Woodstock. They're there to spend money. So why wouldn't these other companies take advantage of it? Why wouldn't they be able to? They're just kind of like skimming off the top, kind of.
But that's why WWE told hotels, particularly the Santa Clara one, San Jose in 2015 that I was at. I don't remember if Russ was at there, but they started putting in place to venues and hotels that the WrestleCons, the Ring of Honor shows, and Ring of Honor was still really going strong. They were like further away. They couldn't just be on the same vicinity as all the WWE, their venue for the Access and the daytime NXT shows, et cetera, and their venues for the evening stuff. What they were, so they started doing pushback to make it a little harder on those all of the other folks coming in to capitalize on the fact that wrestling fans, the wealthy fanboys, as Evan said, from all over the world come in for this thing. And that's kind of what it is in LA. And if anybody, the thing we laugh about here, anybody that knows Inglewood, the stadium's beautiful. SoFi Stadium, highest tech, like the one the Raiders have now in Vegas. But the area, which I used to go to in the 60s, 70s for Lakers and Kings games at the Forum, that's right across the street from SoFi, owned by the same complex. The stadium's beautiful, but the area is like a tenderloin. It is so dangerous. I'm warning all, women like Gabby, for example, and Thunder Rosa, make sure you ask for a SoFi Stadium. You go to WrestleMania and you get out at night, like midnight, ask for a security guard or two to walk you to your trans, whatever your trans is. The area is super dangerous, scary, drug deals, the works. I mean, Evan,
sounds great.
It's like Watts.
Well, how did they find a place that was cheap enough to be able to build a stadium that big? The only place in Los Angeles.
Exactly, Russ.
You're not going to build it in the middle of Beverly Hills.
No. The land is cheap there, but it is a good hour and a half from Hollywood, so it has nothing to do with Hollywood. If they said WrestleMania goes to Inglewood, okay, I get it. But, tons, it's very diverse ethnically, but a lot of crime and a lot of poverty.
Look, WrestleMania 2 was at the LA Sports Coliseum in
Sports Arena in downtown LA.
Yeah, the sports arena. And that was no picnic either. That part of downtown was nothing to
well, that is now where Chase Center's right across the street from where they bulldozed the LA Sports Arena. The Chase, well, that's not called Chase. It's called the Crypto Arena, where they're having.
For now.
No, not for now. That's where they're having SmackDown. That's where they're having Raw. That's where
I'm saying it's called Crypto Arena for now, but you might check in a couple of hours from now. You might change it to something else.
Anyway, that is in, downtown LA, just a mile or two from where the Olympic Auditorium was. And that was totally super dangerous too when you get out there. Knifings but back to SoFi very quickly. It's like all the stadiums, like they have had fan-on-fan violence, the drunken things, somebody was pushed over a railing. So not as bad as the poor guy that became paralyzed and died, I think, as a result of the attack at the Dodger Stadium. one. But SoFi, since opening, it just opened like a year and a half ago, they've had quite a bit of violence at the stadium, not just which is, again, gorgeous stadium. It's incredible. Taylor.
Speaking of paralyzed, all the fans that got $2,000 to buy a WrestleMania ticket, throw $2 into the GoFundMe for Jim Phillips for Pro Wrestling Stories, a great historian. The poor guy's been in the hospital over 2 months, 2 surgeries, and the poor guy's paralyzed. It's amazing how much money wrestling fans burn through, but GoFundMe, they break into a cold sweat, a lot of them.
Evan, can you tell people a quick bio on Jim?
He's been on the show.
Jim's been writing. He wrote for Gorilla Position, and Brian knows him obviously, and
I think Jim, his first job as a writer, actually. About years ago, and then he took it and just ran with it, and doing forwards and books and working with a lot of legends. I mean, he's a terrific writer and historian, and it's a shame to see him. I reached out to him and messaged him the other day. It's a shame to see him going through all this because he's a great guy. He's one of the few people that I know in the wrestling business. Been to my house, met my family, hung out and stuff. We're from the same area. He's from Southern Illinois, just like me. So, great guy. I hate to see him going through all these things.
He stayed by me in New York. We're close friends. He's, guys walking one day and he's paralyzed the next day, and he's been hospitalized over 2 months. And I find it amazing. You could fill a stadium 2 nights in a row, but to get 100 people to throw a buck in a till, it's like pulling teeth. So, being a wrestling fan isn't about making corporations richer. It's being part of a community. Help this guy, seriously.
I always call it the wrestling culture. We're all part of it. You can embrace it, or you can kind of, take a leak on it, for lack of a better term. I won't curse on this show, but, you look at it, and I think one of the reasons we're probably talking so fondly about Jim is, like a lot of people that you meet in the wrestling business, there were some of the people that you can't help but smile when you see them or when you're around them. And I think that's the one thing that out of everything that I've taken out of pro wrestling, that's the greatest, the joy that I get out of it is the greatest part to me. It's not about big shows or little shows or money or anything. It's about the joy and the people,
It's like Peanut Butter Falcon. It's the whole, message that comes across with, is why everyone had that common denominator for liking pro wrestling, and it linked all those people of such diverse backgrounds together. And it does, at least in the right way, when it's doing things the right way. It's doing
wrestling,
wrong
when done well, is an incredible art form. When you see a Kenny Omega against the Will Ospreay or whatnot, I mean, it's an incredible art form, and people appreciate art no matter what it is. I mean, I could go sit at a ballet or an opera also. It's great is great. So I've met some of the greatest people, you guys are all my friends. I've met some of my favorite people in the world through wrestling, and then I've met promoters and agents I wouldn't spit on if they were on fire. It is what it is. It's a strange business.
Very, very quickly, 2 things. Evan, your background, believe it or not, I know you put a fan up there, but that looks exactly like what we used to shoot backstage, the checkerboards or the squares, the rectangles at the Mid-South Coliseum. We'd ask Lawler or Dutch Mantel, et cetera, to pose. And Ryan's background is, tell us about that belt hanging on the wall behind you.
Oh, that's the AEW world title. I once I saw the AEW championship, I thought, that is one of the most beautiful title belts I've ever seen. Now, I have another belt. There's a young man that I call him my stepson. He's kind of a protege of mine in wrestling, a young guy who's training right now. He has the only other belt I own is the IWGP title that Okada had. Not the current version, but the last version of it. Those two were side by side up on the wall. But my young friend is he's learning the ropes right now, so I gave him the belt to carry around with him, kind of for encouragement. He was kind of obsessed with it when he first visited my office, and I thought, well, you know what? Why don't you take that with you and you bring it back to me when you're nice. A big success. So I always try to, and again, I that's kind of what what Evan was talking about. Like the reason I wanted to do Penn was not to get rich, but it was to protect a lot of. I'm not an agent, but acting as a publicist and working on their behalf in marketing, I can also kind of give them some advice because, as you guys know, we all have crossed paths with promoters in the past that you would recommend and promoters that you would not want to even mention their name if you didn't have to. So I kind of feel like I guess now I'm getting close to 50, and I some of the guys now that I cover and I've gotten to know, they're young enough to be my son. There's a lot of kids out there that are starting. I feel like it's kind of my duty to look out for them. That sounds silly. Nobody elected me to that position, but I just kind of feel like it's my responsibility.
Oh my gosh, you're almost 50. Wow,
Most of these shows I go on, I'm the old guy. I'll be honest with you. I go on and they're
like, you're the young guy.
28.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the old guy here. Ryan, very quickly, Evan was a godsend, a big help to me when I threw my Sam Munchnick tribute weekend, a 3-day convention. Thez was my lead MC, but I also had Ernie Ladd and just a jillion people there. Al Costello, Rip Hawk, Ivan Koloff.
Backlund.
Backlund and DiBiase and Killer Kowalski and on and on. But it was kind of nice to see. I took like 14 months to plan that out. I was constantly flying back and forth to St. Louis from California. Again, Kiel Auditorium, and Sam Munchnick was always gracious to me, allowing me in his office. It was not quite Paul Bosch's museum office, but it was a museum of stuff. But all of the independent promotions in the surrounding area, also Kansas, the state, Kansas City, there was Indie Group, several in Illinois that abuts, and they kind of go across the border into Missouri. But Butch Fletcher was another guy there. I don't know if that name means anything to you if you're in Missouri right now, but he was a worker, ref, promoter. He did a lot of good people. Obviously, Herb Simmons is the king now that we lost Larry Madison and also Pat O'Connor. But tell us what the indie scene is like there. And then you talk about the Omega, you guys, and Evan were talking about the Omega match. But the match that we had with Omega and El Hijo de Vikingo last Wednesday, guys seen, and photographed ringside in Mexico and stuff. And some people saw him in Impact. This guy's out of this world. That match people are calling match of the year. It was incredible. But what's going on before we hit that topic, which is the major news of the week, other than CM Punk's mouth and his postings? What's going on with the indie scene in Missouri and the surrounding area? Because it was always pretty strong.
Well, St. Louis is still Herb. I mean, he's still, I call him Uncle Herb. And, his daughter and I are very close friends. I've known them for many years since I was a young man. Their family's outstanding. And Herb's one of those guys that's going to do things the right way. He's a traditional guy. He does things like Sam. Not more go than show is the way I would put it. Then here in Southern Illinois, locally, we have just a tremendous local promotion called Stride Pro Wrestling that I've actually done some ring announcing for, filled in before in the past. I'm not affiliated with them, but I do know everybody with the company. And I will tell you, in Southern Illinois, to be able to do what they've done, this is a company that runs out of a town with 2,000 people. They put close to 1,000 people in a gym one time. It was like 800 people at the local gym. That's unheard of, for an indie show in an area like this, but they're so ingrained into the community. And here's the thing too, they do it the right way. They do a lot of charity work with the schools, the sports teams, things like that. And they're a part of the community. They've made pro wrestling as much a part of the community as local sports teams or businesses, so it is possible, and I think that's the one thing that I've noticed. And being in the Midwest, we do have a lot of swaths of open land here. A lot of towns with 1,000 people, 5,000 people, you have to get pretty creative, and you have to, you're going to have to do a lot of discount wrestling, a little bargain basement work, around here. But at the same time, this area has always produced a lot of talent. It's always put on great shows. Herb continues that same tradition. I'm sure you're familiar with South Broadway Athletic Club, the legendary South Broadway in downtown St. Louis. That's where a lot of guys cut their teeth. Hey, we produced Randy Orton, so we kind of know what we're doing in the Gateway City in this area, So, man, Bob, by the way, is still involved in the area. He's involved with Herb's company, and he will be part of the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame events in May. which is at the Aviator Hotel in St. Louis. And Herb's going to be so mad at me that I forgot the date. I think it's the 15th, but you can look it up. St. Louis Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in May at the Aviator Hotel. So,
and I know Hall of Fame, is it a physical Hall of Fame? If a real, true physical one?
You know what? I don't know if there is a building or not. I've never been to the dinner before. This is the first year that I'll be. I've been all over the country for so many years. I'm never home when anything. So finally moving back home and buying a house here, I'm able to kind of reconnect with everybody in the area. So this will be my first time going to the Hall of Fame at all. But I know that they're honoring. I mean, I know that they just had Tony Atlas and JBL is supposed to be here, I believe. I know Jerry Briscoe is involved. The best thing I could tell everybody is just to go to the MMWA website or the Facebook page, or just Google St. Louis Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, because I won't do it justice. If I describe it, I'll leave out names and everything else. And Herb is, again, he's dedicated to preserving the legacy of preserving Sam's legacy. I think that was very important to him and Larry. I was very lucky to get to be close to Larry before he passed. I wrote a eulogy for him when he died, and I had a great deal of respect for Larry, a great deal of respect, and somebody who had a very hard life physically at the end, and was still going to shows and still going out and meeting people, and just a tremendous person. It was an honor to know him.
Do you recall how long the battle with Pat O'Connor lasted? Because Sam retires, big show, WWF sent in people, all the former surviving NWA champions. I was at that thing. There was Thez, both Funk, Jack Briscoe, Gene Knitsky. And, we posed them all in the back together, and then they came down the ramp, and Pat O'Connor walking down with Jerry Briscoe and stuff, so the fans could all see them. But then Pat O'Connor, who was already part of the office via Geigel and Munchnick, he takes over the St. Louis Wrestling Club, but Larry Matisick started promoting far more successfully than him, bringing in guys like everyone from Brody to both Paphos. Randy was doing a lot of main events. I don't think he ever worked with Brody, unfortunately, but he had like a lot of the Sam Munchnick goodwill. They went with Larry, almost outlaw-like, promoting against Pat O'Connor, taking over, and then eventually, I forget the time scenario, how long that little territory war, it was a big territory war, went on, but then Larry took the job as local agent, etc., for Vince, for WWF. I think he worked for him for X number of years, 6, 7 years, maybe less. I forget. Do you recall that, what was going on at that time? Yeah, the book.
I realized I had this nail. This is Larry's book, Wrestling at the Chase. This is actually his first book from many years ago. I believe 80 was the year that Sam retired. I think that was right, 1980. And I believe about 84 is when Larry, maybe late 83, is when Larry decided to go with Vince, and that was with Sam's blessing. He called up Sam, and Sam said, and it's actually in Larry's book. He says to Sam, I don't know which direction to go. And Sam said, I think you better go with Vince. So it was kind of one of those things, I think, that Sam kind of knew where things were headed, and he was protecting Larry at that point. I mean, Larry was kind of like a son to Sam. They were very, very close. And I know, unfortunately, I wasn't old enough. I met Sam as a very, very young guy, but I wasn't old enough to really, appreciate it or get to know him well enough like I would now. Now I just want to sit down and listen to him talk for hours on end. But my closest connection to Sam would have been through Larry. And like I said, I still got his book that he gave me, and I keep it and Bill's book, Bill Apter's book, pretty much side by side here in my office. They're two of my Bibles I go by.
Last thing on Sam is that guy had the cred because the promotion he put on didn't have any tomfoolery. It was the most athletic next to Eddie Graham's Florida. But Sam, being a baseball writer initially, everybody in St. Louis, I mean, all of the baseball people, if you remember at our convention, all these baseball, all of the bigwigs that were still surviving came in, and that's why all the boys trans themselves in. I didn't have to put up a dime. They all put themselves up at the hotel. They paid for the banquets, and they're trans there not because of me or anything, but because of Sam. And Sam, tremendous respect. I've never seen any wrestling promoter from the legitimate sports world. And it wasn't limited to baseball, which was Sam's niche, but all of the other, sport entities in that part of town. And very last thing,
I was just going to say, the odd thing is I was a sports reporter in St. Louis, just like Sam, before I got in the wrestling business. So I had the connection through sports. That opened a lot of doors with me with wrestling. I'll be honest with you. I mean, because you already had the credibility of working with a newspaper, and everybody in wrestling wants free publicity. So why wouldn't they cozy up to the media guy? And that's.
Then what were you covering at that time?
I was covering Major League Baseball and the NFL. And then, of course, we lost our team in St. Louis. They went back out to L.A.
But you guys took him. Georgia Frontieri brought him to St. Louis, which was weird. L.A. really resented her and thought she was a nut job. And then the team came back, which wasn't fair to St. Louis.
And we hate Kroenke. Yeah, I mean, we hate Kroenke. He's probably the most hated person in sports in St. Louis, maybe ever.
And the card, what was the deal with the Cards? The St. Louis Cards went to Arizona, right?
Yeah, we lost 2 football teams.
So, is there an NFL team in the works for St. Louis now?
Probably not. They sued the league and got almost $1 billion from the league for the Rams moving the way they did it, and so I don't think they're really. I know this is a wrestling show, but I also still cover the NFL, so this is kind of like we're delving off into that, but no, I don't think they're really on the good boy list with the league as far as if it came down to it, that $1 billion is going to sting when it comes time to decide who the next city is that gets an NFL team. So
you're in the back of the line, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. You can't slap the guy in the face and then he wants to still go out with you, I guess is kind of the bottom line. And they kind of slapped the NFL in the face, but they got messed over. They wanted to get revenge, and now it'll probably be 20 more. I'll probably be dead before there's another team here in St. Louis for me to cover.
Speaking of financial deals, what do you guys think is going to wind up happening with the WWE? Do you think it is going to wind up being sold to Saudi Arabia, or is Vince just, trying to buy it back himself and take it delisted off the stock exchange, or is it just going to be business as usual? If anything, the word WWE is usual.
3 to 6 months. That's why Vince has now wedged his way allegedly back into creative and is been pushing. We heard like before the end of last year that the company was supposed to be sold at 3. So who knows if it's going to be the Saudis, if it's going to be NBC, Universal, Comcast, which would be the most logical to keep it here, but the Saudis have the most money. I don't know. Ryan and Ev, what do you think lately, because when Triple H took over the first 5 months of it, I was fast forwarding far less, where I don't fast forward through a second of AEW, for example. I was not fast forwarding much at all because Hunter, brought in all the great NXT talent and people that were let go. Things made, a little more sense, but it was far better. But now, there can be hits and misses. There can be Raws where you're scratching your head the last 3, 4, 5 weeks.
What was the question?
Yeah.
Well,
the question is, what do you think is going to happen with the WWE? And has the shift gone back the other way since you had the momentum from Triple H?
I heard rumors that lawyer Russell Jackman was going to purchase WWE. And I'd also like to point out that Ryan, when he has the pipe, looks like a double for Hugh Hefner. Am I right?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good, except without the pajamas.
You actually look like Hugh Hefner with that pipe.
What's in the pipe? What's in the pipe is the big question, though.
Yeah. Newminster 17 tobacco.
Yes.
What a waste.
No, the other is for later this evening when it's the nightcap.
There you go.
Hey, we've got the same thing you guys got in California, so we're legal here. We're all legal. We can just go to the store and make a purchase if we need to. But no, my dad smoked a pipe for years, and now I'm getting older, and I'm like, kind of like that. And I don't smoke cigarettes or really, I don't have any other vices, so I figured I needed to find a new way to die. So
there you go.
Got pipe smoking,
To answer the question, I think you always have to go to who the person is. And Vince, at heart, being a disgusting greed monger, I think he's just going to take the biggest amount of money he could get, and I don't think it matters morally or whatnot who it is. Whoever offers the biggest amount of money, he's going to grab it and sail off into the sunset or whatnot with the golden parachute.
Offer the most amount of money? Who do you think is going to offer the most?
The Saudis?
Well, think about it like this too. The Saudis can not only pay the most money, they can also offer up a harem of girls for him. So, I mean, that's right up Vince's alley. So, you know, they're the front runner in my mind right off the bat.
No Me Too in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, but I would love it to be NBC. I'd love it to be Universal, but
yeah, that makes the most sense. But the big problem is quite a few wrestlers from Sami Zayn to AJ Styles, refuse to go over. Even Kevin Steen on those Saudi shows, they were standing up for
those guys are in their 40s now, so they wouldn't be the priority. Vince is going to get as much money as he can.
Right. The dynamics would just change, and either they would have to eat crow or go to Tony Khan.
And can AEW withstand like another mass exodus of WWE people coming to their Fed? I mean, they already are kind of packed to the gills with talent and are having trouble finding good booking for all the talent they have there in the first place.
I think
you don't see and hear the Ring of Honor guys when they're relegated, like Colt Cabana. They're hardly in the last month. AEW TV has barely done any ads at all for the Ring of Honor Club or the shows. It's very quiet, so it's kind of troubling.
I want to point out too that everybody talks about the Saudi purchase, like, well, these wrestlers won't go wrestle over there. But let's be honest, how many shows are they going to do in Saudi Arabia in a year anyway? They can own the company and still stage the shows and have their office.
Of course.
So I mean, I don't know if that'll be as big of a conflict as maybe it's been.
Right, but they were vocal about working for a company owned by the Saudis, whether they go there for the 2 shows a year or not. It's having them as their boss. That regime, that they dislike, and many people feel the same way. And that was all the brouhaha with the golf associate, or the golf thing started there, and the golfers that were leaving the Americanized Pro Wrestling Golf Association to take that, and they were getting shit for it. The number 2 guy in golf, he was just right behind for years and years, Tiger Woods. He got quite a bit of backlash and backflow from agreeing to that and doing all those Saudi golf tournaments and stuff. So money's no object. So yeah, if somebody's going to do it, Russ, I think they have the most money. But my heart would be with NBC Universal, dating back to the Dick Ebersol Saturday Night Live main event days of the 80s, and his partnership with Vince and long friendship with Vince until X amount of years. I don't think they speak anymore.
Did you guys hear about, not to change the subject, but to change the subject, did you guys hear on an indie show last night, guy pulls out a hypodermic needle and stabs the other guy in the Johnson? It's really happened. Happened.
Not in the butt, but in the front?
Yeah. A hardcore match.
That's hardcore, all right.
What's that?
That's hardcore, all right.
Yeah, I'm not making this up. It's all over the internet. It happened on a Jersey Indie, a hardcore match. Yeah.
There are those magic fake needles. They do have the ones that.
Oh, they said this was real. They said it was a real needle.
That was really done as a legit thing, and it wasn't a work. It wasn't a work. Wow, that's makes you long for the days of fluorescent light bulbs being smashed over your head and being body slammed on thumbtacks.
Russ, you being an attorney, I spell lawsuit like the guy that sued Abby, who's been on the show. Evans brought him. Yeah,
lawsuit, but these independent wrestlers have absolutely not. They don't have a pot to piss in. They don't. Most of them are living out of their cars.
I think the two guys probably agreed to it if they did it.
Yeah, it's assumed risk, and unfortunately, you're who are you going to sue for that? You're going to sue the promoter? The promoter doesn't have that much money.
I think they probably enjoyed it if they agreed to it.
You know, there's
I'll
that.
tell you guys a true story without naming names. Two indie guys were huddled together, and one guy goes to the other guy, listen, shoot me, but just graze me in the arm, okay? Shoot me, for real, but graze me in the arm. So they're really seriously contemplating this, and the promoter's like, what are you, insane? You could kill a fan? What are you talking about?
We're going to shoot? They literally?
Yeah, like just a little graze over here.
A literal shoot. A shoot.
Literal shoot. Yeah,
They've watched the A-Team a little bit too much.
I couldn't make this stuff up, man. I'm like, you know.
I was supposed to work a show. I'm not going to name the company because they don't deserve it, but and I don't even know if they're still in business. But it was down south, and they had gotten into the hardcore stuff. This was years ago. I mean, early 2000s, and they wanted me to come in and do some more ring announcing, which was fine. I was going to go do it. So, well, what's going on in the main event? Oh, we're going to have a pool of leeches match.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not coming. I'm not going to be on a show where they were going to have a kiddie pool in the middle, like a kiddie pool, like you would buy at Walmart, fill it with water and leeches. And by God, they've had those matches more than I've seen them in other companies. But I'm not going to be on that show.
Piranhas. Same thing, a kiddie pool with alleged piranhas in there, you know, when they were doing all the light bulb and all the insane. That was the Rob Black porn and wrestling promotion.
Oh, Google it later, guys. You'll see. I'm not making this up.
Wait, let's go to the Kingo match and see what the three of you guys think of that, because I think Evan agreed with.
Yeah, let me briefly mention that. Okay, for all the geniuses who do they're just spot monkeys. That was such a great match, and if you don't appreciate it, it's casting pearls to swine. I'm sorry. That was a tremendous, tremendous match. As was Ospreay and Okada, all three matches.
Oh.
Excuse me, Omega and Okada, all three matches. Omega and Ospreay. The fact that you don't appreciate it doesn't mean it's not great. You know, wrestling evolves. It's not 1972 when you're in an 8-minute headlock. I mean, if appreciate artists creating art and taking something to the next level. And I'm an old school fan. I'm a jaded old school fan saying this. But that match was tremendous. And that was even with the picture-in-picture and the 17 commercials. It was still tremendous. So that's saying something.
I love that. Russ, did you see it? Or Ryan?
Oh, I was going to say, I would just say, I as I wrote about the match, you know, if you don't know the name, now you know. I mean, because we hear all the time these so-called experts and these salty old dogs that are saying, oh, they just bring these guys in, these indie guys and these guys from other countries, and they just throw them on you. And maybe that's true to a certain point, but every now and then you get that lightning like they went by bringing in that special feature match. That time really turned out to be special. And honestly, no one could watch that and not be entertained. I don't know how you could watch that and not be entertained.
When Impact went and had those tours in Mexico, he was on some of the cards when they went down there, and on California TV, particularly in LA, the Hispanic channels, when they show the Triple Manias, he's always in the main events. 6 mans are defending the title, and so what the deal is the reason Omega went over is they're showing it on their TV, and he's going to be going back down to Japan to feud and then do the favor to Vikingo, whose dad was a total legend, luchador. And so they'll be feuding. So that's to create interest there. You know, a lot of people were wondering, geez, why couldn't he put him over at AEW? Yeah, we all wish that would have happened, but the bigger picture, he may not come back too much. You know, who knows? Because sometimes these guys will come in, like that lead guy from GCW. What's that guy's name? Just for the one match with Jericho, and that was all you saw of him. It was a dream match. Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, I would love to see. I think all of us agree that Vikingo, it would just be impressive to have him in there. But, you know, the business was helping AAA get some sellouts to see Vikingo go over Omega eventually down there. And if those are on Fight or the other platforms, I'd say let's all get it and watch it and enjoy it. Somebody
explain this to me. When WWE fans go, oh, all the AEW wrestlers and all the Ring of Honor wrestlers are, quote, just spot monkeys. How is it you have this awe and wonder for The Undertaker? Here's a guy who's playing a dead man, who gets power from an urn, who's walked to the ring by a mortician, has a team of druids. Somehow that's credible, but a luchador is not credible. I don't get it. It's like selective, suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for spots, you wouldn't see The Undertaker doing topes and planches that he did towards the end of his career, the last 10, 12 years. It all came from Lucha and the stuff they brought to Japan and WCW, for example.
And the guys aren't just all spot monkeys. I think, unfortunately, Young Bucks sort of get a lot of the heat for being, the flippity flop type guys and maybe not taking wrestling too seriously. But like when you have Bryan Danielson against Timothy Thatcher, and we're friends with Mike and I are friends with Timothy Thatcher. That's a great match. I don't care what era you're from. You watch those two guys in the ring, and you're watching two guys that really know what they're doing, facing off against each other and telling a great story in the ring. And I, if you can't appreciate that, then don't just call everybody spot monkeys. Yeah. Because what you're saying is everything to you tastes like a Big Mac. Even though you people are presenting you, filet mignons, you just go, well, it's beef and Big Macs are made out of beef. Therefore, you're serving me a Big Mac. No, there's differences in every fed. Hey, there's some bad people and bad matches in all the feds.
Yeah.
But, but if you don't take the time out to appreciate when they are giving you good stuff, then it just means you don't watch wrestling. You're just taking it from the chop sheets on the internet and the websites that just say everything sucks. Everything sucks.
I mean, let me just quickly throw this in here. The simple idea that you must pick one team, AEW or WWE, the other is your mortal enemy. Anybody that likes the other team is your mortal enemy is just insane. I mean, if you watch Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, those three matches, those were magnificent. Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn was great. You can't just say one is crap, the other is that's my home team and it's all wonderful. They both have flaws. Come on. It's
like where these guys came from. Seth and Sammy, El Generico, they all came from Ring of Honor. So why can't you enjoy all of it? Why can't you enjoy the Young Bucks, but also Jonathan Gresham, who's one of the ultimate artists out there? Every match the guy has off the charts, whether it's with Jay Lethal or, sad that Tony Khan wanted to take the strap off him and they had that argument. Because can you imagine Jonathan Gresham against Omega, for example? Even though Jonathan's a little shorter, that would be a clinic right there, for example. And there's a ton of guys he could have worked with at AEW.
Well, treat it like a buffet and just watch what you like, watch what skip what you don't like. I don't sit through 3 hours of Raw. I watch WWE pay-per-views. It's like you don't have to watch every hour of wrestling that's on TV. Be selective. Watch what's good, very good, great. Skip the rest. I mean,
I'll tell you what's fun. MLW Tuesday Nights on Reels. They have 2 hours. And sure, you can maybe fast forward through Enzo, who's calling himself the One now. But you're going to miss some stuff. And you're going to miss Jacob Fatu and Hammersmith and some very cool stuff. And Raven is in there now, Scotty Levy. There's a lot of fun stuff right in that fed. So, yeah, there's so much wrestling every day. In fact, I want to ask Ryan, how do you juggle 3 hours of Raw Mondays, 3 hours of WWE on Sundays now on A&E, Tuesdays NXT, and then 2 hours also of MLW, Wednesdays AEW, and Thursdays you've got 2 hours of Impact, 1 hour New Japan, Fridays 2 hours SmackDown, AEW, and that's not even bringing in the streamers or when Dark Side of the Ring returns on Tuesday nights, which is going to be insane. So, Ryan, how do you budget your time but still get in everything? Are you only watching? Are you fast forwarding, taping? What are you doing?
I hire a lot of people smarter than me. But no, I do have great people on the staff that do most of the recaps. I don't watch the whole shows. I'll be honest with you. We do summations of shows, and a lot of times what I'll do is I won't start Raw right at 7. If I have to cover Raw that night for us, like I have been doing the last couple of weeks, I don't start watching at 7. I start recording at 7, but I let the first half of the show go, because then I can skip through commercials or segments that I know I'm not going to write about or I'm not going to include in my story anyway, because they're really irrelevant. There's a lot of filler stuff that it could pass. You don't even have to talk about it, and it wouldn't be relevant really to the episode at all. At the same time, we have to pick and choose. Can I cover every single NWA event at our website? No, we don't have the budget. If I could hire 20 people, yeah, I could cover everything. So we have to cover the big boys first, obviously, which is sad, because you don't want to play favorites like that, but you have to go to where the most interest is, and that's WWE, AEW, Impact, New Japan, and MLW. Sadly, the NWA is just not really, it doesn't get a lot of attention. I thought it would a few years ago, but really, to be honest with you, as far as me personally, I do a lot of recording and I do a lot of late night watching where I can skip through stuff, because I'm kind of like you guys. I'm sorry. I have a family. I have a wife. I have 4 daughters. I'm a grandfather now. I've got, my dad lives a block away. I have family and friends.
What's more important, wrestling or family? Come on.
Yeah, right. So I don't want to sit there.
Wrestling in real life?
Yeah, I don't want to invest 3 hours to just sit there over something when I can basically let it ride, and then maybe about 9 o'clock I'll tell my wife, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fire up the show and see what's going on, or even Dynamite. I'll usually watch all the way through, because I am admittedly a big AEW fan. I've been pulling for them just because I just wanted a number 2. I wanted a second company out there. We needed that, and whether they ever are. Whatever anybody thinks, who's winning, who's losing, I don't care. I just want there to be 2 companies, because they need at least 2, maybe 3. If we could get a third one, I can take
there's some love at NWA. Were you? I'm sure you were at the 2-day thing they had, the all women's pay-per-view in St. Louis, and
I was. Yeah, I just wanted to visit. I didn't hang out for the show actually, because I had to get back home. But yeah, and actually was hoping to run into Jazz while I was up there, but I didn't get a chance to really talk to anybody. I looking at right now, like as far as when you were talking about the viewing schedule for me, it's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for me. But as a staff, obviously we have to be sensitive to everything. Some weeks we might not do anything with NXT. Some weeks, we may not do anything with the NWA or Japan, but we are going to hit, AEW, WWE, and Impact for sure, all the way through, and then as much of MLW in Japan as we can. And again, it's just one of those things with a small website. We're not a massive company, so you have to kind of pick your battles, so to speak.
Last thing, very quickly, I don't think I've ever seen where both a male and female world champion in the modern era both had to not appear on the show same day. Both got injured. They had to take the title off Josh Alexander in Impact. Mickie James is given X period of time before she may have to relinquish. But both those 2 main events had to be scrapped last Friday's Impact paper. Yeah. Still came out.
I hate that, because I love Josh. I think he's one of the really cool guys out there. Really great dude. The good guy you see on TV is a real life good guy. And let's be honest, he's one of the best champions we've seen come down the pike in a long time, in terms of being just a pure all around wrestler. A wrestler's wrestler. So, I'm a fan of his as a person. I'm a fan of his as a performer. So, and he was so close. He had the title for almost, I think he's just short of a year. I think this title reign, having to relinquish the title, is going to make him just miss a 1-year anniversary as the champion. So that's unfortunate. But, I whoever's next, I think it should be Trey Miguel. But, that's another biased take. Somebody's getting arrested.
That's New York City for you. That's my home base. Yeah.
While we got a few minutes left, I want to find out, what are you guys looking forward to at WrestleMania, if anything at all? Is there any match you guys are looking forward to seeing?
Reigns and Cody. That's the match. The tag team should be good, but usually with the tag team, you got all kinds of screw jobs and 37 guys running in and out of the ring. I think Cody and Reigns should be great.
What are our predictions? I'm predicting Cody. Ev, and the rest of you guys, who are you predicting?
Reigns.
Oh, Reigns. Okay.
I think that they're gonna. I think they're gonna give it to Cody because they want to start building him up bigger, and I think a title run with him would be something that they want to see how marketable he's gonna be.
They keep doing Reigns as champion 992 days, 993 days. I think they're so hung up on that stuff. I think he's gonna keep it, even if he barely wrestles.
But if Cody loses, that whole story, the family story and all that, kind of goes down the tube.
It was the next pay-per-view. What do you think, Ryan?
I think that it's got to be Cody. I mean, they passed up the Sammy story to get to this one. You've got to cash in here, right? I mean, I think that they, as much as they've invested in it, they've got to go ahead and pull the trigger with Cody here. I think it's him.
Reigns is Vince's boy.
Well,
he'll still be in the public eye.
But sort of like the mob, where they spent a little over 2 years on building up the bloodline. They can spend 2 years on its tumult, its fall from grace.
I guess.
Sure.
I guess we'll see next weekend.
I mean, the funnest thing when you watch the bloodline stuff, I hone in on Paul Heyman's facial expressions and what he's doing. Is he looking creepily at Roman Reigns' entirety without taking his eyes off him? Paul Heyman not only booked all of this, but his acting has been 5-star. Every little facial tick, anything he does, besides what comes out of his mouth, has just been out of this world, incredible stuff.
And I personally, I know that this is not in the minority of the opinions, but I actually like the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. I do. I know everybody else hates it, but
it's so horrible.
It's not even part of WrestleMania. They're just throwing it on SmackDown.
I know. I just feel like there's a certain something to like knowing who the real bottom echelon of the WWE is, and like especially when you get eliminated quick from
paycheck. You want to see good battle royals battle royals. Sadly, it's not like LA and San Francisco 70s, but AEW they did a lot of tag team battle royals and single battle royals since their inception. They've managed to keep my interest where I kind of fall asleep during the WWE ones.
They should call the WWE one the neutered battle royale, where you have guys like the Good Brothers and Gargano and now Bobby Lashley, who were once worthy of being on top of cards.
It is. It's like the Elephant's Graveyard.
SmackDown.
Yeah, it's like the Elephant's Graveyard.
The opponent is nowhere to be seen. Bray Wyatt. Where the hell is he? Before we go, Ryan, where the hell is Bray Wyatt? What's going on?
Well, no one's really sure, but actually my column that drops probably right now as we're recording this week, The Power of the Pen. It's a Dear John letter to Bray Wyatt. It's entitled Dear Bray, and it's a breakup from the WWE universe because we've tried this relationship over and over again, and it just doesn't seem to work.
Can I just say something quickly about Bray Wyatt? I do not go to a lot of WWE cards, but by sheer coincidence, I saw Bray Wyatt headline at the Garden against Cena on one card, Reigns on another card. The guy was tremendous. The place was packed. The matches were great. Then he shows up like a couple of months later. He's in the opening match. I mean, I don't know how they messed this guy up, And I don't get it.
When he was teaming with Matt Hardy, that was really embarrassing. It was awful.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense. You're in a main event. The place is packed, top dollar for tickets. Next thing you know, he's in the opening match. It didn't even make sense to me. Then all of a sudden, he's the Fiend, which is like a cartoon. And this last go round, he hasn't even wrestled basically in like 6 months, except for that disaster with LA Knight, which was a cartoon. I mean, how do you devalue a guy that deeply? I mean, the guy was on top. Now he's just a warm body, and he's not even there now. So they killed this guy.
Ronda Rousey main eventing for the first time as a woman with the other two female athletes, and now she's in the throwaway tag four-way.
But she's on the bad list now too. I
don't think she's long for the WWE. I think she's gonna disappear probably after WrestleMania, and we probably won't hear from her again.
They have a good list, they have a bad list, and it comes from the top, and God forbid you get put on that bad list. Johnny Gargano's jobbing out to everybody now. How great is that guy? Come on.
easily main event. Brian, we better let you, before we go, plug anything and everything.
Oh, just check us out at realwrestling.net. Check out my columns on Sundays, The Power of the Pin, and we also have special features throughout the week. I'm also, I cover the NFL and Major League Baseball, Last Word on Sports, and Bounding into Sports. And you can just follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Ryan K. Bowman, just like it sounds. Ryan, the initial K, and Bowman.
No
And
W. I'll remember that.
What's that?
No W. I'll remember that.
No W. No W in the last name, even though the post office doesn't seem to be able to figure that out. For 48 years now, they've delivered my mail wrong. So, but Boman, yes, Ryan K. Bowman. And just everybody, please check it out. If you like it, stick around, support it, all that good stuff. I'm always happy to take feedback from readers and stuff. So email me, tweet me, message me, do whatever. That's fine. I always like talking to the fans.
And can I do a quick plug?
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely.
No, we don't want to hear.
Yeah, we're gonna stop the show right now.
I just learned that the Wrestling Then and Now documentary, which we did over 20 years ago on pennies, I have so many late friends in that movie: Killer Kowalski, Nikolai Volkov, Don Dr. Death Arnold, etc.
Tiger Khan.
Tiger Khan, everybody's gone in that movie 20 years later. Wrestling's a tough business. So anyway, you can see that absolutely free on Tubi and Plex, and we're happy it's back out there. It honors some late friends, and we actually visited Nikolai Volkov and his manager Nikita Brezhnikov, and we're just sitting in their home, just bullshitting with them. It's it brings back a lot of great memories. I'm happy it's out there. Don't expect The Wrestler or 350 Days. We shot it on nothing, but it's from the heart. It's from the heart. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. And I have a book coming out later this year, Wrestling Rings, Blackboards, and Movie Sets, and it's 100 stories based on my various careers, and I'm dedicating the book to Lanny Poffo, dear friend. I met Lanny Poffo at Mike Lano's Sam Muchnick convention 30 years ago. That's when I met Lanny. We were friends ever since. So, we got 100 stories, and about 30 of them are on friends who are gone. Wrestling is not for longevity. Oh, my God. Right, Ryan? It's a tough business. You were talking about all the friends you lost earlier in the interview.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was thinking about when you were saying that, I had one of the last interviews, probably the last interview Del Wilkes, the Patriot, did was with me. I did. We did an interview on June 28th. He died 2 days later on June 30th, and it was on my birthday when he passed. Now, the funny thing is, Del and I had been friends for a long time and had a falling out, and we had just reconnected right when I did the story with him, right at the end. So it was one of those things that's another thing I'll always tell anybody in pro wrestling: don't burn bridges with the folks that if it was $50 from 50 years ago, don't worry about it, because you'll look up one day and realize there's a lot of people in the wrestling business that just passed so young, and they're gone before you have the chance to say anything to them. I'm so glad Del and I got a chance to talk again, because when I called him at first, he answered the phone. He still had my number, and he goes, "I didn't think you'd want to talk to me." And I was like, man, we kind of hashed out a few things, and then it was over something stupid, so I'm just glad that we reconnected. So when you brought that up, that was the first person that popped in my head when you brought up about losing people that we've known. So.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show again, Ryan. We love having you,
thank you
as
guys.
a guest. You're very honored. I'm very honored to have your presence. And Evan, always great to bring you back. Have you vent, as you say.
Yeah, I'm glad to have this hour of psychotherapy where I can vent. And I have a love-hate relationship with everything wrestling, as you could see. So.
Sure. All right. Well, we'll have you both on again soon, and as situations warrant. And thanks for being available again. And hope you guys enjoy whatever you do watch from WrestleMania, if you are gonna have a party or something like that. So we'll see everyone again soon. Goodbye, everyone.
What flippy do, folks? Flippy do.
Combate Kurosai.
Yeah.